Maybe it's the generation we've created that sees so many people determined to disrespect the death of the Queen, despite being such a devoted and revered British monarch. They're still out there. Because how else do you explain the self-centred and attention-seeking comments by some Greens MPs, Indigenous activists and now university students? The latest gross comments come from Australia's oldest university, Sydney, and its infamous left-wing student newspaper, Honi Soit. Now, on one hand, I balked at giving them any coverage on this show, but if we don't expose this warped mob, who will? I'll show you the front page in a second. Just a warning, it is graphic. They've depicted King Charles identifying his mother's body in a morgue with a series of tweets attached. I think it was their pathetic attempt at parody, which, given the gravity of the current events, someone enormously loved dying, is hardly the kind of case warranting a parody of any sort. Anyhow, using some very amateur photoshopping, they've got the Queen on a mortuary table with King Charles next to her and the headline, "Queen dead, Charles next." I think that was their pathetic attempt at satire, which really is just plain nasty. And the paper jokes that King Charles got the chance to catch up with her after the event. Talk about undergraduate humour. Is that supposed to be funny? According to the Australian newspaper, the paper also published a tweet referencing the death of Princess Diana, which they have since deleted. Well, not before we saw it anyway. Here it is, Diana's crash car, the one she died in, and the words, "That's 1-1, folks. Diana strikes back." Gee, how hilarious. Sorry, that's just sick. The article included several so-called satirical quotes from the Queen, which poke fun at her own gene pool and the family being linked to fascism. And this is what comes from education at Sydney University and constitutes humour? It does not say much about the institution itself, I'm sorry. Honi Soit's editors did try to explain why they thought this garbage was necessary. In a statement, they said they had a strong history as a left-wing newspaper, running stories counter to mainstream outlets, and wanted its coverage to highlight the blind reverence and exaltation of the monarchy. We hope to remind readers that Elizabeth II sat on a throne that was deeply, inextricably implicated in the exportation of cruelty, exploitation and dehumanisation that formed the British Empire. No, Elizabeth II did nothing of the sort. Never ever did she resemble that kind of command in the royal family. In fact, she drove her family as far away from any of that as possible, you knuckleheads. She kept in personal contact with victims of unfair imprisonment and cruelty, and she frequently welcomed any nation to split from the Commonwealth in accordance with the wishes of their people and their governments. That's her history, while she sat on that throne for 70 long years. Embarrassing themselves even further, the paper's editorial admitted people won't like this cover of this week's paper. Well, why do it? That sounds like a stupid way of ensuring people read your paper. I hope none of these clowns work in a commercial field because they'd end up going broke. But the editor wrote that this is about challenging their emotions around the Queen's death. And that's code, of course, for just upset anyone who's remotely respectful of the Queen or upset over her death. And the rest, well, they're expected to find this stuff funny. I doubt it. Now, I'm the last person to suggest free speech should be discouraged. But if these talentless, twisted, left-wing budding editors think that they have a future in journalism, they should really think again. No one needs or wants those views, and they represent absolutely no one. They're just disrespectful prats.